Hi, welcome to PTC. This is CS1113 Exam 2 review. First question, the string is given and then it's going to change, it's trying to change the string in the index 0. This is error because string is immutable, so you can't change the content of the string. And this is trying to change the index 0 to uppercase letter T. So this is an error. Next question is comparing 4 and 3. This is syntax error because you have to do greater or equal rather than equal or greater. So this is the correct one. But the original one will give you error. And then the next question will give you, it's going to slice the string from 2 to -1. -1 is the last element. So 0, 1, 2 from E to N, but then -1, the last index is not included, so it's until O. So this whole string will be sliced, and then it's going to return this new string. This is also slicing. It's going to give the string from index 8 to 1, but we jump by step 2. Basically means that it's going to access the element at 8, 6, 4, 2. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is 8. At index 8 we have S, and at index 6 we have blank space. At index 4 we have O. At index 2 we have H. And then we have to stop until it is 1, which is C. If we were trying to go over this, then that's going to give you 2 minus 2, which is going to be 0. So that's out of bound. So it's until H. So it's gonna H, empty space, O, and H. For this question, 3 times A, which is going to be A repeated 3 times, and then B repeated 5 times. And then we add them up, return a new string. So it's going to be 3 A's and 5 B's. Upper method on the string will make all the lowercase letter into an uppercase letter. So this string will become this. This is comparing a string comparison. String comparison is done in a way that each character is compared. The first character is compared, and then if it is the same, the next character is compared like that. And then it's gonna compare with the ASCII value. So string 1 is a lowercase letter a, which is always bigger than the uppercase letter a. So this whole string is bigger than the string, the other string. So string 1 is bigger than string 2. This is true. Because we know that string 1 is bigger than string 2, it's not equal. So this is false. Question 2. Write a function called row count that, when given an integer n, will produce n rows of numbers, each counting either up or down from n minus I, where I represents the row number starting from 0th row. When I is even, count up to n. When I is odd, count down from n minus I. An example of the desired output is provided below. Basically, we are given a number, and then we have to print out a number from 1 to that number, either in an ascending order or a descending order. And then if the value of the row is even, then we're printing out in ascending order. And then if it is odd number for the row, we're gonna print out in descending order. The code is implemented like this. We were given a variable, parameter num, and then we're gonna, the I will iterate from 0 to num minus 1. So in this case, it's going to iterate 0 to 4, right? I's value is 0 to 4, and then that's going to correspond to which row we are going to print out. So for 0, we're printing out the 0th row, and then for 1 is the first row. But then if I is even, right, this is evaluating is I is even or not. I divided modulus by 2 is equal to 0. If it is, we're printing out in ascending order. How we're doing this is we're setting up another for loop, and then we have a variable j. J goes from 0 to num minus I minus 1. So num is 5 here, and then I depends on the value of I. So first iteration I is 0. So 5 minus 0 is 5. So 0 until 5 minus 1, which is 0, 1, 2, 4. we don't want to print out 0 to 4. We want to print out 1 to 5. So what we're doing is just adding 1 to j. So we're printing out j plus 1. And then the separator between the elements is going to be white space. And remember that you have to print out the new line character so that the next iteration will print out into the next line. So if I is odd, right? So if this is not true, then I is odd. If it is odd, we are printing out in descending order. So we have another for loop of j that goes from 0 to num minus I minus 1. This is the same as this one, but then what's different is that we're just subtracting j from num minus I. So at this point, so I'll give you an example for the first iteration. Num is 5, I is 0, right? So num minus I is 5, and then j is going to be 0, right? So 5 minus 0, we're going to give you 5. And then the next iteration, j will be incremented by 1, which means that the whole value will be decremented by 1. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like that. And then we print out the new line character at the end. Next question, write a program that prints out a triangle of numbers with specified heights and prints out column-wise. For example, the first column will start with the specified range of values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the second column will start from row number 2. The third column will start from row number 3, and it will continue till the loop ends. Call this function display num triangle. Right. So we're printing out like column like vertically from 1 to 5, but then in actual code implementation, you can't print out in vertically if you have an element right next to it. So we have to print out from left to right. Given a number, print out 1 and 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, like this. So what we're going to do, we're given a parameter n, and then we're going to print out, depending on the value of n, we're just printing out in descending order. So given from the value of n to 0, we're just printing out each value decremented by 1, and then that's going to correspond to content for one row. And then after you're done with it, you print out the new line character. So the next time it's going to be it's going to print out in the next line. So a row in range of 1 to n plus 1, which is, so for example, if n is 5, it's going to print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And depending on the value of the row, there's another variable called column that goes from row to 0. So if row is 3, for example, so it goes from 3 to 2 to 1 until 0. And then we're just going to print out column. And this column corresponds to every single element that you're printing out for one row. Yeah, that's about it. Next question. Write a function that identifies whether the input string is palindrome. A palindrome is a word that reads the same backwards as when read normally. For example, a race car is a palindrome. Note that the algorithm should not distinguish between upper and lowercase letters. For the purpose of this exercise, we will consider them to be the same. That is, the uppercase letter is not important. You should use the lower method. How are we going to implement this? So we're setting up another variable called reversed s, and then we're going to store characters in a reversed order at this variable, and then we're going to compare at the end if this reversed order string is equals to the original one. So if it is equal, that means it's palindrome. If you read from the back or read from the front, it's the same thing. That means it's palindrome. But if it is not, we just return false. There's an error here. This should be s, not astr. And also this should be s as well. Okay, so what we're doing is for each character in s, we're appending each character before whatever was in reversed s. What this is gonna do is it's gonna place the first character into the last character, and then the second character into the second to the last, and then third character to the third to the last. So reversed s is empty string, right? And then for element in s, we're given a race car, right? So the first character we're given is r, and then we're gonna append it to the reverse s. The reverse s is has R in it, and then the next time we loop is going to be A, and then we append A to this reversed S, but then not after but before what was in the reversed S. So A will be before R, and then C will be before A, and then E will be before C. So what this is doing is basically we located R, first R into the last R, and then this second A to the second to the last. So we're reading from the back. This is the string that reads from the back, and if this is the same with the original one, that means it's palindrome. So we're returning, we have to use the lower method as I said, and then we're returning if this reversed one is equals to the original one. If it is, it's palindrome. Okay, so what is the output of the following code? So our symbol parameter is a star. The number parameter is an integer 5. And then I is going to range from 0 to number, which means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. So I is 0. Let's just start with 0, right? The first iteration is 0. And then num at this point is 5 minus 0 minus 1. So this whole thing is 4. So we have 4 white space. And then 2 times 0 plus 1, which is 1. So we have 1 symbol. 4 white space, 1 symbol. We're going to concatenate them and then print it out. So we have 4 white space here and then 1 star. And the next time we loop, I is going to be 2. And then num was 5 minus... Sorry, I will be 1, sorry. So 5 minus 1 minus 1, which will be 3. So 3 white space and... let's calculate this, right? 2 times 1, 2 plus 1, 3. So 3 symbols. We have what was it? Okay, so 3 white space and then 3 symbols, right? So 3 white space here and then 3 stars, right? And then it goes forever. It goes until the I becomes 4. So when it's 4, so 5 minus 4 minus 1, which is 0. So we don't have white space, and then 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So 9 symbols. We have 9 symbols, but no white space. So this is going to be the result. Questions. What is the output of the following code? We have function 2 and function 1. And then the first call is function 2. And inside this function 2, we'll have the function called to function 1. So let's see. Num is 10. And then we're going to loop the while loop until the num is greater than 1. But then the num is divided by 2 every single time it loops. So at this one, 10, the number is going to start from 10 divided by 2 is a floor division. So it's going to go from 10 to 5, 5 to 2, 5, 2 to 1. And then when the num becomes 1, this loop ends. So you have to keep in mind that this is a floor division, which means that it's only going to take as a quotient of that division. So 5 divided by 2, right? Num is 5 here. So 5 divided by 2 is equals to like 2 as a quotient and 1 as a remainder, right? But the floor division only returns quotient, so it's 2. Okay, so the first iteration, right, is 10. Is we pass 10 as in function 1. Num becomes 10. And then here, because num is 10, we're iterating in a for loop from 10 to 0, but then we're jumping over by 2, which means that the I value is going to be 10. Oh, sorry, we're not. Okay. My bad. It's not 10, right? Because for the first time you enter it, the num becomes 5, and then it enters the function 1. So when we call the function 1 right here, the value of the parameter becomes 5. I'll just write it here. So number of parameter for the first time it enters this function is 5, right? And then the I go from 5 to 0 is step by it jumps over by step. It jumps over by 2. So I's value is 5 to minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. So the whole I value is 5, 3, 1. And then we're printing out not I, but I squared. So 5 to the 2 is 25, and then 3 to the 2 is 9, and 1 to the 2 is 1. So we're printing 2591. And then that's it for this first while loop. And then the second while loop, the value of num is 2, right? And then the function parameters value is also 2. And then for I in range 2 to the 0, but we jump by 2, so the i's value is only going to be 2. So we square that, and then 2 squared is 4, so print 4. Next loop is going to be 1. The value of num is going to be 1, and then the function parameter is also 1, so num is 1. And then I in range 1 to the 0. So the only valid value for I is 1, and I to the 2 is 1, so print out 1. Okay. Next question. Write a function to remove all duplicate data in a list. It should return a new list with only the first instance of a unique piece of data. Basically, is only storing a unique character that is not redundant. So first A is unique, so we put it in a new list. But for the second A, because it's the same one with the first one, we don't put it in this list. The same goes for the other. So this is the coding implementation. We're given a list, and then we're creating another empty list. And in this empty list, we're gonna only append the element that is unique. And then if it is already inside this the list, then we're not gonna put it in, because it means that it's duplicate of the one that we already put it in. So we iterate through the input list for element in the input list. If the element itself is not the same thing that we just put in the result, then we append it to the result. So element is this evaluation means that the element is unique. If the element in the input list is the same one that we just put in the result, that means it's duplicate, so we don't put it in. And then we return the unique ones. Given two variables start and end, write a function to display all prime numbers p, such as start is equal or greater than 0, and then p is in between start and end. Print all these numbers on the same line separated by one space character. So prime number is the number that is divisible only by 1 or itself. And we don't include 0 or 1s. It always starts from 2. And we're only printing out prime numbers. And this is the coding implementation. We're basically just iterating through start to the end. And then that variable, we call it as num. And then the value of num will be, so if start is 0 and end is 7, right? The value of num will be 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way until 7, because the end parameter is n plus 1. Inside this for loop, we're gonna have another variable called is prime. This is Boolean value, and depending on this Boolean value, if it is true, we're gonna print out, and if it is not, we're not gonna print out. So for the number, has to be bigger than 1, because as I told you, 1 is not a prime number. We don't care about it. We always go starting from the 2. And then I for a range 2 to the num. So the I value here will be every single number in between 2 and then the value of number itself. So if the value of num is 4, then I's value is going to be 2, 3 only. And if this I value divides the num, is num modulus I is equals to 0, which means that there is a number that's smaller than this current number that actually divides this. That means this is not a prime, because prime is only divisible by 1 or itself. But if this is true, that means that the number that is smaller than itself, it divides the number. So we set it as a not prime. And If it is not prime, we don't care about it. We just go through the loop again and then go to the next element. But if it is prime, we just print the number. And you have to separate them with the white space. Yeah, this was the last question. I hope my review helped you for the midterm 2, and I hope you I wish good luck for the next exam, and I'll see you later.